Hi, my name is Ryan Stevens, and if you would like to hear me talk a little bit about my script, The Resurrectionist, and its place in the Alliance of Los Angeles Playwrights West Hollywood Pride Reading Festival, be sure to stick around for this conversation. I fell in love with theater in my undergrad degree. I went to college thinking I was going to be a writer, like a novelist. Like I was very into Hemingway, and I wanted to be like, my one great author voice, the entitlement of many young creatives in America. And when I got there and started taking like theater classes and working with other like actors and directors and stuff, I realized that no, actually what I really enjoy is the collaborative aspect of theater. What I really like is being part of an artistic community. And what I really, really like is being able to write the stories for the performers that feel like they aren't being seen in shows, or really being able to make these chances for people to act and explore parts of themselves that aren't always talked about in theater, in manners and in styles that aren't always shown in theater. And so being able to be a part of that community and do a small part to make that community a little wider was something I really, really gravitated to. And that's why I sort of knew I had to keep doing this, and I couldn't just let this be an elective. It had to actually become my career. I think I first actually fell in love with writing around the same time I was just falling in love with theater in general. But I was talking with some actor friends who were feeling, disheartened with the shows they were in, with the shows that were being programmed in the city where we were, and talking about the kind of stuff they wanted to tell. And we just sort of got to talking, as people tend to, what would you write if you ever wrote a script? And we sort of just riffed ideas. And I was like, oh, I really like doing this. And then writing some short plays, getting them rehearsed, in apartment buildings, performed in parking lots, these humble beginnings, but these small quick hits of affirmation, and this idea of it is really, really rewarding to put words down and have other people believe them and say them and treat them as truth. That sort of was the bite that had me hooked. And from there, it just became a matter of writing longer pieces and continuing it and seeing how much I could get done with myself in playwriting as a medium. I think theater is such a unique experience for all involved, for the audience, for the creatives, because something about it is what I think in centuries past people would call magic. There's something about a lot of people coming into a room. The room is just a room. If we want to get material about it, it is, floorboards, it is a back wall, it is chairs, it is a lighting grid. But depending on the show, it is ancient Greece, it is space, it is Italy, it is England, it is Willy Loman's house. It's all these places contained within, these boards in this back wall and this lighting grid and these chairs. But we all take the ride. We all are willing to believe. We are all willing to participate, even as audiences, to lend our imagination to build that together. And as a creative person on that side of things, being able to tap into that imagination, being able to coax the audience along and make them believe for an hour, hour and a half, 2 hours, that the world is as we are saying it is, as we all agree to believe it is magical. It's really fascinating and such a unique feeling that is, almost religious in a way, but it does have this sense of awe of just look what we've created and look what we are all agreeing to believe in for this time. I find that in my process, I usually start with a sort of genre or style, because I never want to be too similar to myself in past work. So I'll tend to think, well, what would it be like if I was to write something about pirates? Or what would it be like? What does the Western as a genre mean to me? And what does it mean to the world in, the current year in 2021, or whenever I'm thinking about it? What does it mean to, look at something like giant robots that we've had since the 40s or 50s, and how do we bring that into a new context? And more importantly, what's fun about that idea for me? I tend to start with a broad genre and then a personal connection. And from that, once I have those two things, I can sort of begin to sketch out characters and a plot and figure out what I'm trying to say. But it needs to start with something that hooks my attention and say, yeah, I'll take a crack at, a redoing of A Christmas Carol, or whatever, if it's a commission or something, having something that can hook my attention to make me go, well, what can I say about that? What's a neat twist on something that we're maybe used to, but in a way that's fresh? And once I have that, I can do the rest of the script. I heard about the Alliance of Los Angeles Playwrights, and it would have been summer of 2017, I would suppose, because I was about to move from my home state of South Carolina to Los Angeles for grad school. And I knew going in that I was going to be in grad school. It was going to be a set of years just to work on playwriting. But I knew I didn't want to just stick in the classroom. I knew I wanted to go ahead and start connecting with artists and creators in LA, in the LA theater scenes. So I was just looking up any LA theater organization I could find, seeing what their submission guidelines are, what their membership guidelines are, how I could get involved and make the most of my time in LA, which led me to joining the Alliance of Los Angeles Playwrights, and led me to realize that I really wanted to find this incredible community of theater makers in Los Angeles, which there absolutely are. LA has this, Hollywood is the thing that seems to have the most visibility from the outside in, but Los Angeles has such incredible theater being done, and I wanted to make sure that I was able to be a part of this tireless theatrical community. I first heard about the ALAP Pride Reading Festival a few months ago when the opportunity was posted on the site, and as surprising probably no one, it's been a heck of a year for theater makers and theater artists. It's been a bit of a dry spell for opportunities of any sort, virtual and especially not in person. And I do appreciate that the Pride Reading is still going to be virtual for safety. But I knew I wanted to be a part of it, one, because I really was eager to get back in the flow of Los Angeles theater, so eager to get back in that space and be visible there again after a year and change away, as we all have had. And I also, as a queer person, I think it's super important to, tell queer stories and write stories about, LGBTQIA plus identities in a way that is sincere and open for the world to see. And I think the Pride Reading project as a whole is indicative of that and is in service of that visibility. And beyond visibility, actually having artists with this identity, not just writers, but actors and directors as well, getting the chance to put in the work and create these queer stories, which was very important to me. My script, The Resurrectionist, is a love story between a living woman and a dead woman who is just sort of sat up in her grave one day, and that is where the play starts. The idea initially came because I just wanted to write a love story. I had never just written a straight up romance before, and I thought, well, how do I make it interesting to me? And a friend of mine said something that was to the effect of every good love story is kind of a ghost story because it's about other people's ideas of each other, and it's about the unfinished business we have with people who are in our lives. And that sort of turned around in my head for a while, and I was like, well, a ghost is one thing, but what if it was a living dead person? And then that sort of opened up the whole thing. And the more I got to work on it, the more I realized that it's not just about this zombie romance. It's also about realizing that a part of your life has changed, and it's about identity and how we define ourselves and how we sort of can transition from one part of our life to another. And I think as queer people, that's something that is very relatable, and that's something that a lot of us have had to consider at one time or another in our lives. Is am I still the person I used to be? When did that change happen? And to what degree have I changed? And those themes of transformation and life as this process compelled me to keep working on the script and make sure that I kept submitting it and finishing it, as it were. So The Resurrectionist begins with a woman named Kit, who is a gravedigger for a living. She digs up bodies for scientific research. She is fairly kept to herself. Turns out being a gravedigger does not do wonders for your social life. One evening, she is digging up a body that wakes up and begins talking to her, and the two of them have a instant connection And that is where we sort of begin our story as Kit tries to find a way to make a connection with this person she feels a fundamental need to connect to. And Audrey, the resurrected person, tries to figure out what it means to be alive again and what kind of life she wants to live on this sort of second try. I think I want audiences to get a sense of hope from the Resurrectionist, not just in a general capital H way, but a sense of personal hope that wherever you are in your life, you still have time to be the person you want to be, or to discover what that person you might want to be is. We don't need to always have answers, and we can just let life show us the way sometimes. I also think that I want people to leave with a sense of romantic hope and romantic validation, and the notion that, you know, finding the right person is an admirable thing to pursue. During the Pride Reading Festival, I'm very excited to hear and see, as sort of cliche as it might sound, all of the plays. But what I mean by that is I'm eager to hear and see how queer writers have been responding to life in the most recent year. That's not to say that any of these scripts even have to literally tackle it, but I think after the year we've all had, it is going to be present in the room regardless. So I'm excited to hear how all these other voices and how all these other actors and directors are diving back into theater again after our extended hiatus, after this extremely long intermission we've sort of had. And I am also extremely excited to hear just what kind of stories we are choosing to tell as we enter this sort of strange new era that we are all finding ourselves in. And I am absolutely honored beyond coherent words to be the full-length reading offering for the West Hollywood Pride Festival reading. It means a ton that the Alliance of Los Angeles Playwrights believes in the script enough for it to support its own reading and be the full length that they've chosen. It's an extremely enormous vote of confidence and extremely gratifying for all the time and energy that has gone into the script. People should watch the ALAP West Hollywood Pride Reading Festival because these are stories about identities. These are stories in a specific community that deserves to be heard. These are voices beyond my own. These are voices and people and experiences that deserve the limelight and deserve to be seen and heard, and will undoubtedly sort of shine a light onto different aspects of the queer human experience. And I think that those stories are stories that deserve to be heard and deserve to be told. So to have this platform for all of us means that we are definitely going to be, I think I can safely say for all the other writers, we're going to be, giving it our best swing, and we're going to be putting our best foot forward 100%. And you don't want to miss that. I think more voices need to be heard in the theater world because more voices exist in the world. It is necessary for every person who has a seat at the table in real life, and by the way, more diverse people should have seats at the table in real life, but they should also be able to be reflected in fiction, because specifically for something like queer people or trans people, that is often a process, and people might not know exactly where they fit in the world and where they fit with themselves. And the more that they can see the possibilities of the self, the more that they can see the different stripes of life, the more that they can possibly be able to consider and explore the possibilities of their own selves. And anything that can help more people be comfortable within their own skin is a net good and a necessity as a society. I think the Alliance of Los Angeles Playwrights is extremely helpful to playwrights of all skill levels because of how many resources they make available. They are constantly posting opportunities for your playwrights to submit. They're also posting other playwrights events, which is a great way to meet other writers and make these important connections, not just in a cynical networking way, but in a way where you actually can meet other people and see what they're working on and see what they are interested in and make meaningful connections and artistic friendships. That is crucial to any playwright making it in any sense. It is also an extremely useful aspect of the Alliance and the resources they provide. I think that other playwrights, actors, directors, and local theaters should get involved with ALAP, because the more people that are involved, the more helpful and the more powerful as an organization it will be. The more directors who are in there, the more playwrights will be able to find directors, and vice versa. And the more theaters that are in there, the more they'll be able to find work. Joining this community, joining this, this is the power of solidarity. When we're all working together and we have full communication within a centralized organizing group, something like ALAP, everybody wins, because everybody is getting access to more resources, to more fellow artists, and to more support. And that is really what you need in theater, is a support and other people to work with. It is a fundamentally collaborative art form. Even if you're doing a one-person show, someone else has to work the lights. So I think that it is extremely helpful for anyone who wants to be a part of something larger to consider ALAP in that regard. ALAP is so important to the community for this very reason, because it is providing a means of artists to connect with one another and find tangible, workable ways to make their artistic ambitions happen. So the communities communities benefit from engaging with theater organizations like this, because they build stronger artistic communities and build stronger senses of community identity and community work. And that, again, is just something that benefits everyone involved. The more you are able to work together, the more people who are able to work on more projects all at once. It is, to use a cliche, it is a rising tide that will lift all the artistic boats in the area. I mean, my favorite ALAP program, and I wish I remembered if there's an exact name for it, but I do enjoy the sort of calendar they have of other ALAP Playwrights events, so that we always know when someone else has a reading or a production or a workshop. It is really, really gratifying to see other writers constantly being engaged, and something is always happening. In previous, less isolated time, something theatrical was happening most nights of the week, and there was never really nothing going on if you were able to check the ALAP resources. I think that visibility and that sort of communication, that program is extremely helpful and extremely beneficial for playwrights. An audience must come see these readings for the ALAP West Hollywood Pride Reading Festival, because these are going to be the next phase of whatever happens in theater. This is a crucial moment, sort of theatrical history, or in the cultural moment for American theaters and for LA theater, in what sort of shows are we going to be doing next. So if you want to see a sort of bellwether for what's to come, for who knows how many years to come, this is an excellent indication of which way the wind is blowing, and you do not want to miss that. I'm playwright Ryan Stevens. If you enjoyed hearing me talk about my play and want to see the readings for all of these scripts for the ALAP West Hollywood Pride Festival, be sure to go to the ALAP website to learn more and watch both readings on the 26th and 27th.